Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Legends from the Past and Future newest segment. We are better together. So I'm your host tonight, Deneen Ward, and my daughter's here, Sierra Ward. So we want to start today off by just introducing ourselves and just kind of let you guys know what this new content is going to be all about. So I'm a mother, I am a presenter. I'm a project manager. I have a master's degree in organizational management or change management, which is about managing people. And Sierra has a master's degree in communications and training and development. So we are the mother and daughter duo. So we thought that we would try to bring you guys some content that's going to help people communicate more effectively. So I want to start by telling you guys how this podcast started. And so me and Sierra, we have a lot of deep conversations about what's going on in today's world. And what we realized is that people are not spending a lot of time together like they used to. People are not communicating, they're not connecting, and they're not collaborating. Everybody's trying to do everything by themselves. And so we decided to create this content to remind people that they are better together. And so we're going to give you some tools, we're going to help you to execute, we're going to give you reminders, we're going to give you some stories to help you just be stronger, grow stronger, build better relationships because we all are better together. Sierra, you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, we're excited to unpack this topic, and of course, we provide kind of a intergenerational perspective from millennial to Gen X. So excited to get going.
Okay. So what I wanted to do is just kind of give you our mission statement, just to give you a idea on what we stand for. So so we are better together is a relationship focused podcast hosted by mother and daughter duo from two generations who are passionate about helping people build stronger connections. Through honest conversations, practical communication tools, and faith centered wisdom, we explore how relationships thrive when we intentionally connect, communicate, and collaborate. It's inspired by Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Our mission is to help people grow together, strengthen their relationships, and become people that make other people better. So that's what this is all about. So what we're going to do as we from week to week, we're going to have different segments where we talk about communication, the struggles of communication, the different aspects of communication, what people think they know about communication, but they really don't. And we're going to help people to just be better and effective communicators. So what we're going to talk about today is we're talking about why we struggle with communication and communication breakdowns in relationships. And next week we're going to talk about what to do about it. So Sierra's gonna get Sierra in here. And I'm just going to start by saying, do you know that nearly 1 in 3 millennials say they often feel lonely, and about 1 in 5 say they don't have a single close friend?
Yeah.
So to get that, so the question is, how are we more connected than ever through our phones, but still feel disconnected?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that a lot of people feel lonely. I'm sure it's for my generation and yours. We have a lot of communication tools, and technology has shifted how we feel like we're connecting with people. So you can interact with a lot of people online, but never truly have a deep connection. So that's not really shocking to me at all. Um, and why that is like I said, I think there's a lot of surface level interactions um, that are meant to fill the void of having actual face to face interactions, but they really don't. So you feel like you feel a lot of emptiness, even though there's a lot of like overwhelming stimuli with these social media, text notifications, things like that.
Yeah, I think I was talking to my son today recently about that, and he was talking about, he kept saying the word dopamine, 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 dopamine. So we're constantly getting our dopamine fix through
Ye
the lights and cameras, right?
Mhm, and, if you speak to a lot of, like, Gen Z or, like, millennials, a lot they'll describe having an interaction with someone, and you won't realize until, like, the very end of the conversation that they were really just texting them, or they were really just FaceTiming them. Whereas you'll be like, "Oh, I thought you meant you were interacting with these people, you were having meetups, this was at a party." It's like, "Oh, no, these are just, like, casual FaceTimes they've had."
Really,
And they conflated it into this whole, like, relationship or something, so a lot of that is going on, and it's simply it's not the same. It's
right, right, right. But they feel like it. They feel like it's personal, right?
'Cause that's what they're used to, those are the interactions they're having, so to them,
Mm,
that is the same as meeting up with friends and going to the park or something, like, just getting on FaceTime with a bunch of people is the same thing. So they don't even know
yeah.
what they're missing. A lot of people don't even know what they're missing, so they can't even put their
Right.
finger on it, why they feel lonely, I think.
So I guess one of the questions is why is communication breaking down? And I think that we talk more than we text more than we talk, right?
Yeah.
We scroll more than we connect, and then we
Mhm,
avoid hard conversations and vulnerability, right?
mhm.
So we're doing all of those things. So those are the things that keep us from having real relationships. Because I
Mhm.
mean, master communication tools, but we're losing communication skills, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
A lot of, surface interactions, specifically, for example, a lot of people they have only friends online, they don't have friends in person. A lot of people, they don't have people aren't as, like, entrenched in hobbies anymore,
Hmm.
so they don't even have things to talk about when they interact with people, so I think that's
Mm.
the thing.
Yeah, I think that's something right there that you don't even have anything to talk about. Especially,
There's
the
nothing to say.
other, well, and here's the thing: if we are all looking at the same thing online, right,
Yeah,
then we're talking about the same stuff, right? Which is not really
yeah,
interesting because I already have that information. But
and
people want you
we don't even care about it. A lot of the stuff we're
to.
bombarded with, like, we don't even care. It's just what we're seeing.
Mm,
So that's that's another issue. It used to be like, oh man, you find this one niche concept, and then you find someone else, you interact with someone else who's like, oh, you know about that too, and then you're like, oh, you get camaraderie from that, but now it's like like linchpin is not even there anymore.
yeah, the stuff that they're talking about. I mean, yeah. I don't care anything about it either. I get it,
Yeah, no
but
one.
I guess did you have you okay? Have you ever experienced a misunderstanding that could have been avoided? Have you ever? I have. I've had a couple of them in my lifetime, and misunderstandings that could have been avoided if we had communicated. Because what we're finding is that people don't know how to communicate. So what people are doing is just like we said before, they're avoiding hard conversations, right? They are just having surface level. People are not listening. People are instead of listening, people are waiting to respond, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's kind of like, I mean, I get this a lot. One of the examples is like we're talking in a whole group and everybody's sitting there, everybody's talking and everybody's like waiting like for their time. And so instead of them listening to what people are saying, they wait until people take a deep breath and then they throw in their words, right?
Hmm.
And we were talking
Yeah.
about this. I think we were talking about this earlier when we said that people are still so focused on what they want to say. And
Yes.
then so you are talking on a subject and they will interject and it has nothing to do with the subject, right?
Yes.
You're right.
Yeah,
You have
listening
an
is a key.
example?
Yeah, listening is a key component, and a lot of people just really are not listening. I think part of that is people are just because we're having less interactions, people
Mm,
are being a little more, calculated in what they're saying to people. So they're like,
mm,
oh, they have this one thought, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna jump in the conversation. I'm gonna make sure I get my thought out, opposed to just like actually listening and living in the moment and just like reacting. So
mm-hmm.
that's happening all the time. I mean, especially I see that at work all the time. I see it all the time where we're discussing one one concept, or even when someone's trying to give like helpful tips or helpful advice that could benefit everyone, someone will jump in and try to go against the help just because it's not exactly what they were thinking about when they came into the meeting. So it's
Right.
like these lack of listening impacts like your social life, relationships, work, like every aspect, and it's so common. People really are just not listening at all.
Right. I get that. Well, Sarah, what do you think? How do you think millennials communicate different than Gen X?
Hmm.
Let me give
Um.
you.
Yeah.
Let you think about that, and let me just tell you what we do.
Hmm.
Because we had more in-person connections growing up, right? And so
Yes.
we didn't have so many options. Specifically, we spent a lot more time outside playing with group activities, right?
Hmm.
And then the community looked different. People didn't move as often, so you knew your neighbors, right?
Yeah.
So um, just a lot of it's just different. I mean, we have the same need for connection, but we had different environments. And I know one of the things that for you guys is everything is digital now.
Yes. Um. I think a one to one is probably like um, your generation probably prefers a phone call. My generation, like if someone calls me, I feel like I'm under attack. That's the major difference, I'd say. Like if someone's like, "Oh, can you call them?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." Like I feel like I should only call unless it is like a life-threatening emergency, whereas you're on the phone constantly and you're just having fun. That's
Right.
just not our that's not our thing. And then when it goes lower than me, the Gen Z, they've like kind of reversed it and now they prefer a FaceTime.
Mm.
It's interesting. It could have something to do with their um, literacy, where they prefer to speak opposed to
Uh,
type. But I don't want
that
to throw
that
barbs at
that's
that
you know
generation.
what? No, but that's actually another issue right there because they haven't had to do some of the things that we had to do. Um,
Yeah.
they're not they don't want to they don't even want to deal with that. I know we were talking about kids not even knowing how to tell time other than the
Yep.
digital. That's
Hmm.
that's a, that's an issue right there. But do you think it's harder to trust people? Do you think that it's harder for you guys to trust people um, than it is for the gen for us? What do you think about that?
Hmm. That's a good question. I think uh, trust has always been an issue, but I think, like you said, where you all like interacted more so in like small communities where you kind of
Hmm.
everyone knows everybody. You're
Hmm.
you know your neighbor, things like that. Whereas my generation, we don't know our neighbor.
Right,
Like,
right,
I've
right,
never lived
right.
in an apartment and I knew my neighbor's name and we hung out. There's definitely like people, especially in the city, are
Hmm.
where they make an effort to know their neighbors more. But that definitely leads to just like a lack of trust in your community, which is never good. Because you
Hmm.
should feel like you can rely on people. So there's definitely like a lack of like general community trust. But then there's probably more trust in people online than there should be for my generation. Like if you could be have a pen pal and you're like, oh, this is my bestie, I really trust them when you probably shouldn't. Whereas you probably wouldn't trust someone you met, this, just slides in your DMs on Facebook as aggressively. So I think
Right.
it depends on the situation, but
Yeah, I think
generally,
so
I don't
too.
trust anyone.
Well, yeah, I think, and if I was, I tell you, this is one of the things. Like, I really wasn't listening when you were just talking a few minutes ago. I was thinking about what I was going to say next. Right? It's one of those things
There it
where
is. There it is.
that's exactly one of the problems. But
Mhm.
I guess when I was thinking about the trust issue is that you guys don't reveal information about yourself, whereas though we're more likely to give you information about ourselves. That's why we get scammed more than you guys do. We're more likely to give information because we feel comfortable with people easier.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think you guys are more comfortable giving information about you personally, like your name, date of birth, social security number, and then we're more willing to give information about like something like inappropriate that happened. Like a younger Gen Z person, they'll tell you information about a story, about the bar they went to, who they met, what happened, and you're like, I didn't want any of that information. But
Right,
then if
right.
someone calls us and says, "Oh, what's your birthday?" We're like, "Oh, absolutely not." So I think
Hmm.
it's just two different things, but we're both doing it.
Right, right, right. Well, here's another question for you, Sierra. What do you think is the business, I mean, the biggest communication mistake that people make in relationships,
Not listening
right?
is is number one. Not listening, and um, assuming someone has ill intent. I think those are
Oh,
the two things. Like,
in the
because if you go
relationship.
into a conversation where you're already assuming the person you're talking to is an aggressor or has malice, then there's no even point in discussing anything. For example, if it's like, oh, you told them to take the trash out, they didn't take the trash out. If you go into a conversation assuming they knew, they just didn't want to do it, they just didn't want to do it, then you're gonna have go into the conversation and nothing's gonna get done. So I think
Right,
that's a part of it. I'm trying to listen. What
right.
happened? Why didn't they do it? Maybe something came up. There's just you have to listen to people.
Giving people grace and also giving
Giving
people
people
grace
grace.
too. And also, you're right, knowing where, if you know people, where people are coming from when they are giving you information, like, like I always say, you know my heart. If you know my heart, you know that when I say something that may be offensive, it might not necessarily um, came out. It might not necessarily come out the way I wanted it to come out, but you know
Yeah.
that I didn't mean it, to hurt you or anything like
Yeah,
that.
and this example isn't about like actual relationships, but it's just like when you're getting like you have to reach out to someone for like customer service. Like the assumption you should make is not that they're trying to personally victimize you. The assumption
Mm,
is that they're at work, they're busy, they've had a long day and they're just trying to do their job. So
right.
even if they're a little snappy, it's just like it's not about you specifically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But why do you think people struggle to listen?
I think we're all very self-centered. I think we all think we know what the answer already is,
Right,
and
right.
that's we don't care to hear someone else thinks they know what the answer is. That's it.
That's so good, Sierra. That is good because everybody thinks they already know the answer, so there's
Yeah.
no need to listen, right? And I mean, a
No.
lot of other distractions too. Distractions,
Distractions.
things like that.
Yeah.
And self-centered is a good word because people are so focused on themselves that they don't really care about what other people are saying.
No.
Um, so I guess the other thing is, what do you think a healthy communication actually looks like? So if we wanted to have a healthy communication um, interaction, what does that look like? Is that anything that you can think of?
Hmm.
I guess I have one word, is authenticity,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Hmm.
Because I feel like when we meet people, we always talk about how people say people present their representative, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And so if you present a representative, then that's who I think I'm going to be talking to. And then later on down the road, it turns out that you're not that person,
Hmm.
then it's going to be a problem. So I think that's the word that
Yes.
I would have. If you're authentic, that's going to be the first piece in
Yeah.
communication.
And
Presenting
I
yourself.
think if you're authentic, then people have a easier time trusting you and not assuming malice when communication breaks down with you. Like if you're just presenting yourself, people accept how you are and they're like, "Oh, okay." They'll shoot you some bail. Versus if you're seemingly someone who's like being shady or not being your real self, they're like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna get from this person." So then
Right,
they always have to like try
inconsistency,
to
right?
predict your next move. Yeah.
So if we're saying inconsistency is one
Mm,
way, then we're going to say consistency is one of the characteristics of a healthy communication, right? So
yes.
we know what we're going to get from you. We know we're going to get the truth from you. We know that whatever you present is what you want to present. So I
Yes.
understand that. Do
Hmm.
you think that do you think what is one communication habit that can possibly change a relationship? What is something good, something different that you would recommend people to do to have a better communication?
I think ask more questions. I think make sure you're not always focusing on yourself. Ask more questions. Ask follow-up questions. Not being like an interviewer, but
Hmm.
just trying to really get under the hood as to what someone you're interacting with likes, their dislikes. Why is that? You know, oh, where are you going? What restaurant? Oh, do you like the type of food? Things like that. I think there's a lot of people doing like really dead end conversations, and then they wonder why they don't want to speak to anyone, because that's really
Hmm.
how a conversation like thrives, is by both parties being interested, asking questions, things like that.
Yeah, no, I get that. I understand that for sure. I mean, there's just a lot of things. I think what we're going to be talking about later on, we're going to talk about the different love languages because
Mm,
I think that's
good topic.
important in helping
Yes.
people to interact with each other, specifically in romantic relationships, but also in regular relationships as well, because it applies to it. So we're also going to talk
Mhm.
about attachment styles
Oh
because
yeah.
when you know people's attachment style, then you can interact with them in the best way possible that's going to be a productive conversation. So those are some of the things
Mhm.
that we're going to talk about, as we move on into the next segments. I mean, this is our first segment, so we're just trying
Mhm.
to hit some areas here and there and just have some conversation just about communication in general. And
Mhm.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the things that we're going to be talking about. We have a lot to share with you guys. We have so many
Yes.
questions. So next week we're going to talk about the things you think you know about communication but you don't, or people think they know but they don't. So we're going to talk about that next week. So we hope that you guys are going to tune back in next week. But to get back to what we were talking about, how about what destroys relationships faster than people realize?
Well, what do you think? What do you
Well,
what do you
I think going back to what you said before, by not being honest and not being consistent. I think
Yeah.
so. I think not being honest and not being consistent. And also, I think transparency, not being
Yes.
transparent, because a lot of times people withhold information. They're afraid to ask what we said, the hard conversations.
Mhm.
They're scared. That will destroy a relationship. And being inconsiderate too. I was going to give an example of some miscommunication that I had that would have been resolved. Oh, hold on a second. You guys, I'm in the airport, so I'm still doing my
Yeah.
stuff. So just give me some
Yeah.
grace on it.
Luckily, she got through TSA in less than 4 hours, so
I
she's a win is
did,
a
I
win.
did.
A win is
Exactly.
a
I mean,
win.
TSA is back. They're back. I mean, they're all friendly. They're excited about getting paid next week.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Um, but anyway, I wanted to let me just see what outside we have that we wanted to talk about today. Thank you guys for being on here. I have a couple more questions that I want to throw out there for my daughter
Mhm.
about. It says what it says. Well, you guys know that the foundation of this podcast is iron sharpens iron, right? So what does that mean? What does iron sharpen iron? It means that you make me better, I make you better. But more times than not, what you need to do in order for iron to sharpen iron is you need to be with somebody that's different, right? You need to be with somebody that's different but has the same goals, right? And so you can learn. So want to make sure that you're around people who you can learn from. You need to be around people who you can learn from, and you also need to connect to people that you can teach a little bit, because
Yeah.
everybody has value. We recently did a spiritual gift as assessment, and we're talking about how everybody has a spiritual gift, right? And one of the things that the assessment was talking about is how important it is for each one of us to utilize our gift. So if you have a gift, You need to be using your gift. I need to be using my gift. When you use your gift, I use my gift. We're all better together, right? So I think that's important. So you need to ask yourself, how are you utilizing your gift? How are
and
you?
identify what your gift is.
That's true. I do have an assessment too. I might need to put that link up there so you guys can use that, right? Do
Hmm.
you how does faith influence the way we communicate with each other? You have any thoughts on that?
Attention members of the military.
I
The U.S.
think a way that it may impact it is that I think having faith makes you more like it should at least make you believe that people are coming from a good place, that we're like all human beings, that we're trying to be honest and learn and be better, and not assume people are being malicious when you're having interactions. Um, that's what faith should do. I don't know today's day if that's what it's still doing, but that's what it should do. You should
No, that's
approach
true.
people
That's true.
friendly and trying to connect and
Well, yeah, there's so many scammers out there now, so we have to be very careful. But one of the things that we do say in our faith is that, check people's fruit, right? Meaning that, if people are saying things that they're not living, then you need to question it. I mean, and you said that earlier. Ask more questions, right?
hmm
Ask questions. You cannot ask enough questions. That's going to help everything, right?
hmm yes.
hmm Okay, so I guess I got another question for you, Sierra. What would you say to the young people out there? I'm gonna say the millennials out there. What would you say to them about um, just how to communicate more effectively? Like, what should they
Hmm.
do? What's the first thing that they should do? How about when you first meet somebody? What should you do?
um we can go back to the old fashioned, like, give them a handshake, some good eye contact. I think eye contact is key. Listening, asking questions based upon what you heard, not just questions. Like, it shouldn't be a script. It really should be a natural one-on-one conversation. But I think it's less about the actual communication piece that people are struggling with, and more so just like finding people to communicate with and finding people to consistently interact with. You just have to put yourself in situations to meet new people and come in there with an open mind, open heart, whatever, open body language, to make sure there's opportunity to have people approach you, or even you may have to approach. I'm going to say it. You may have to
No,
go
that's
up to
good.
people and try to make some friends. That is what it is. We can't just all be in our house watching Netflix and wonder where our friends are. Like, we can't do it. So we that's really it. We have to put ourselves in spaces where we can speak to people and continually do so. You have to
Right,
do it.
right.
It's not just a one time. You can't just do it. It's like the gym. You can't just go to the gym one time and then all of a sudden you have a six pack. Like, it's not going to work that way.
We have to practice it, right?
You
And just
have to.
keep
You have to, all the
and
time.
just I think one of the things that I think you are witness to this is about
Mhm.
saying yes,
Yes.
right?
Yes. 100%.
Right? Because we get
Mhm.
a lot of opportunities to say yes to interact, but we don't take them all, right?
Yes.
And so
Mhm.
we definitely need to do that. And that goes back to the concept of this whole podcast is it's called it's connect, communicate, and collaborate, right? So when we talk
Mhm.
about connecting, we're talking about putting yourself out there and positioning yourself so that you can interact with people, and you have to do that by what? I mean, how did you do it? You recently relocated to DC, and
Yeah.
so you came out there, and you're in the middle of the city, not knowing anybody. Um, how did you get to
Yeah.
where you are now, 2 years later?
'Cause it's very interesting because people say that DC is one of the loneliest cities. Like, that is a known thing. People are like, "You move to DC, you can be very lonely, very isolating," just because, like you said earlier, people move in and out of DC constantly. It's not a city where people stay, put down roots. Often people are just here for a job and then they're gone. So and I've seen that because in my experience, I've been to like 3 going away parties and I've been here for about 2 years. That's
Mm,
insane. So, like I said, one of the biggest things you have to do is just make an effort to leave your house, put yourself in situations where people are, um, and try and force interactions with people. And you can't be afraid of, that. What I've learned is like you're not gonna be judged for being friendly. Like no one's gonna, I feel like there's this thing where everyone's trying to be too cool for school, everyone's trying to be nonchalant. And really that leaves all of us just sitting in a corner of a room looking at each other from afar. So you just
mm,
can't be afraid to be seen as a little silly, have a slightly off-putting interaction because you're never gonna even remember those. Because
mm,
and those are fleeting interactions, and you're more than likely to meet someone who maybe you'll catch a drink with one time. And even if you meet someone and you have a friend for like 2 weeks and then you never see him again, it's like, sure, that's fine. You know what I mean? So I think you just have to be really open-minded, and you can make friends, I'm not going to say easily, but it's very possible. It's not as difficult
mm,
as we make it seem, and putting in a
mhm.
little effort is not bad. Like
Do you
that's
do you
really, I
have,
think.
do you have do you have any specific things that people can do to connect with people? Just like some of the things you did, like
There's
activities. I don't know. Where do you go? How do you know? How do you connect with people that you're in a new
one
town? How do you connect with
in
people?
DC specifically. I mean, there's a lot of meetup groups. There's a lot of intramural sports teams. I think that's one of the big benefits of being in a city. I know if you're in the suburbs, those things aren't as readily available. So if you're in a city, there's 100% like apps you can go on. I've been on like for any type of activity you like arts, sports, books. It's like, oh, I like reading books in the park. You can find a group of people trying to just gather up strangers to read books in parks. Like
Hmm.
that's probably the easiest way to do it. And then you meet someone there, and then you speak to them, and they know another group. So it's just like word of mouth. It's like telephone. That's what you have to do.
Hmm. Yeah. You know what? You were talking to me recently about you were just talking about how to meet people. You were talking about going to the gym, right? That was one
Hmm.
of the things that you did, right?
Oh
And what
yeah.
about, I mean, how did you do it? How did you meet your friends? You have some friends now, and that's what you did. You went
It,
to.
like It's literally was like telephone, like I met one person who was a family friend's daughter, and then hung out with her, and then she knew someone and introduced me to them. But I mean, the major component of this telephone is like you have to be someone that people want to be around.
Mm,
And if
mm,
even if you put all this effort in and you're like, I'm going out, I'm meeting people, I'm getting phone numbers, I'm showing up. If you're not a person that wants people want to be around, you're not going to get invited to anything else. So I think look internal, everybody. We need to all look internal. It's like, why does no one want to hang out with me? It's like, well, probably
well,
you.
okay. That
There
was
you
the
go.
other thing that I was just thinking about. What you had said. You were talking about how you need to create your world, create the world you want to be in,
Hmm.
be happy in your world, and then people will come to your world. Or what were you saying about that?
Yeah, be someone you'd want to be around. That's it.
Hmm.
Like if
Simple
you're
as that.
like, yeah, stink face, angry, sad, stingy. It's like, do you want to be around that person? Absolutely not. So, and then you're like, no one wants to be around me. No one invites me anywhere. It's like, you wouldn't invite that person anywhere. So
Right.
that I think that's the first thing. The first thing, yeah, let's back up actually. Before all this information, we all need to look inside, look internal.
Right. 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 So fix yourself
Yeah.
first, right? Yeah, I
Fix
like
yourself.
that.
Yeah, let's all look in the mirror, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I'm glad you said that
Hmm.
because that's exactly what happens most of the time. I know I always give people that example about how when you call people, I have some great friends, by the way, and
Hmm.
I might not talk to my friends for a year, and I call
Yeah.
them or they call me, and it's like we pick up from where we left off. It's not a, oh, I haven't heard from you, you didn't call me, And one of the things I remember, I did have one friend that said that. She would say, I haven't heard from you. And I would say, I haven't heard from you either.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk to somebody, you need to talk to them. You can't
Yeah.
be sitting around waiting for them. Like we said earlier, you be the first one to make the phone call. Be the first
Yes.
one to send an email, right? Love that.
Mhm.
She
Yeah.
said, we're looking at some of the comments on there. There's nobody wants to just hang out with just any old body, right? I get
No.
that. Yeah.
No.
Well, and
Mm.
also, I mean, Sarah, like when you start talking about relationships, you're not going to attract your person if you are not the person that you want
Well, no, let's
to be.
rephrase. So yeah, you'll attract your person, and that person is the stank, annoying person. If you're being that person, that's who you're gonna attract. Like that's just what it is.
So you attract who you
You'll,
are, right?
yeah, you'll attract somebody. You definitely will. You just keep wondering why it's someone who's like terrible. It's like, well, what are you doing?
Exactly. So that's good. I like that.
But
I love that.
but I mean, we were talking about how I met friends, and I would say that it actually is easier for someone my age to meet friends if you like live in a city and you go out and about. Where someone of your age who's in the suburbs and the dynamics are different, I'm sure it's much more difficult. So how would you go about making connections?
Well, I recently moved, so I can
Yeah.
certainly talk to that a little bit. I mean, I haven't met that many friends, but the first thing I do everywhere place I go is I find a church because I am a Christian, and I make sure I find a good church. So that's the first place that I normally go. But also, I try to find farmers markets, and I find a good gym. So
Mhm.
those are my first three things that I do. I go to the farmers market, which I haven't gone to the farmers market yet, but that's what I try to find, a farmers market. I try to find a good gym, and I try to find a good church. So when I do those
Mhm.
three things, that's my foundation. And then I interact with those people. Because when you go to the gym is a great place to meet people. Simply, you don't even have to talk to people, but if you go
Yeah.
there enough, you frequent enough, all of a sudden you develop relationships without even ever talking to the person. You come in, good morning. That's all you say, and then before you know it, you have new friends that you have never even talked to before. So I
Yeah,
say,
and
I say,
you already have a shared activity that you both
mm-hmm,
like already. Whereas if you meet someone at the grocery
mm-hmm,
store, it's like you're not both there because you like fruit. You know what I mean? So
mm-hmm.
gym is
She said
definitely a good.
she was saying Facebook too. She's something about Facebook. But yeah, I think when you go to new places though, you got your old friends. But I go because I was connected to the military. I have friends all over the world. So wherever I go, I have my old friends. So that's kind of nice. But again, just like she said, you do have to be open. You have to, when you go places, you have to look like a person that somebody wants to connect with. You
Yes,
can't walk around with your looking hard and your arms crossed. You have to be happy. And how are you
yes.
going to be happy? I mean, how are you going to look happy? What is that? What does that look? What does looking happy
I
looks
don't.
like?
I'm not necessarily sure because I'm a person who struggles with looking a little perturbed sometimes. So I would love those tips if you have them because you're a person where people see you and they're like, "Oh man, she's super friendly. I want to talk to her. I want to go up to her." Where I have to like kind of like initiate conversation and then people realize I'm not like a threat to them. I'm not.
Yeah, I think so. I think the first thing I do with people is not necessarily a big smile, but I do give people like a little smile, closed smile, and also making eye contact with people. When you make eye contact with
Yeah.
people, it opens them up, and
Hmm.
then just kind of being attentive to people. So just whenever things are going on, if you guys see something happening, just kind of give each other looks, look at each other, and that's how you start. That's how you start the conversation, or that's how you start
Hmm.
the relationship without having huge conversations. So I
Yeah,
think
because the
that's
amount of
that's
times where I've left you alone and then I've returned and there's like just a gaggle of random people around you having the most a conversation as if you're friends for years, I'd be a millionaire right now.
Or how about the gym? How about we go to the gym? You had gone for I don't know how long, and then when I came into the gym, all of a sudden you got new friends.
Yeah. I was like, "I've been here for months and no one said anything to me." And that shows that it's about body language, it's about energy, it's not just being in the spaces. Um,
Yeah. Also, I think it's a little bit of confidence too. You know
mhm.
how you feel about yourself, and which is
Yes.
interesting because when I go to the gym, I go specifically go into that class that we were talking about. Those, I mean, I don't look like those people in there, and but yet I go in there and I'm like, I'm going in here and I'm doing the best that I can do. So I think
Mhm.
being my authentic self,
Yes.
makes people feel safe around me. So we had to
Mhm.
create a safe space for people, and when you create a safe
Mhm.
space for people, people are more likely to open up to you because people randomly tell me their personal information all the time, and I
Yeah.
think I create a safe space for people, and I
That's
feel like that's a gift. I feel like that's one of my spiritual gifts, and I'm grateful because people trust their information to me, and I hope and pray that I'm able to continue to make them feel safe and hopefully make them feel better after they've interacted with me. So yeah,
mhm.
it's all about helping people get better, right?
Mhm.
I
Oh, yeah.
feel, but I feel like sometimes I feel like people are looking to me for help, but every time somebody's looking to me for help, they help me somehow. Somehow I grow.
For
Somehow
sure.
the interactions. So it goes back to what we talked about. We are better together. There is no
Yes.
instance where you interact with a person and that it's all you giving. You're gonna get
Mhm.
something from them too. You're gonna get something. You're gonna learn, or you're gonna learn that you're appreciated. You're gonna learn something. So anyway,
Mm,
what I wanted to do as we, get we're like almost closing up already. Shoot,
yeah.
times. I wanted to
I'm fine.
go back to the foundation of what we're talking about. We're talking about connection. We're talking about communication. We're talking about collaboration. So I wanted to kind of give you guys like a definition, a couple definitions. I'm just going to read those to you. Connection is the emotional bond between people. It's about feeling seen, heard, valued, and understood. Connection is relational, not just verbal, right? And it can exist without words, right? So that's what we were talking about. It builds trust and safety. It answers questions. Do I feel close to you? Connection, right? Like me and you, Sierra, sitting and generally listening to you. No phones, no distractions. That's a connection, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and then communication. Communication is the exchange of information, thoughts, and feelings. It's how we express and interpret messages verbally and non-verbally, including speaking, listening, tone, body language, can be clear or misunderstood. It answers the question, "Do I understand you?" That's communication. And then finally, the collaboration is working together towards a shared goal. Is where communication, connection, all of those get put into action. So just kind of a little background. When we talking about collaboration, we're talking about can we build together? Yes, we
Yeah.
can. From Obama, right? So anyway, we're gonna close out, but I just wanted to remind you guys and thank you guys for joining us tonight. We're
Yes.
gonna have so
Thank
much
you.
more information. Y'all can see my daughter is, she has her master's in communication, so she is going to be able to communicate. So we will see you guys next Sunday, 7 p.m. Don't forget to tune in on Mondays to our other show at 7 o'clock, and then on Tuesdays. So I will see you guys. Don't forget Legends of the Past and the Future on Wednesday, 8 p.m. I'll be there. See you guys there. Wednesday, same place, same time. Remember, guys, we are better
Together.
together.